thermometers are inaccurate and can miss fevers. Accuracy matters. That's why the Exergen thermometer is trusted and used by medical professionals. Exergen thermometers are available at Walmart and other participating retailers. Choose a trusted and accurate thermometer for personal use. Learn more about why accuracy matters at Exergen.com.
Broadcasting to every nook and cranny of Rutherford County's 618 square miles. FM 100.5, 101.9, and AM 1450. Broadcasting from the tallest tower in the city with that little red light on top. FM 100.5, FM 101.9, and AM 1450. The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. This is Bill Kraus on a wonderful Thursday morning. As we understand, the weather is going to go from summer warm to fall cold in the next couple of days. So bring out those sweaters, bring out those jackets, and turn on the heater. We're very lucky to have a return visit from one of the finest school directors in the state of Tennessee, who is overlooking and administering the County of Rutherford School District, Dr. Jimmy Sullivan. Good morning. You don't mind if I call you Jimmy?
Not at all.
Your friends all do.
That's who I am.
And we had you with us last February. And what has happened within the last 8 months?
Lots have happened in the last 8 months.
Enrollment continues to grow.
Up about 800 kids from this time last year, which is a little bit less than what we have had previously. The year before, we had just over 2,200 new students. So we'll take only 800 new students, but we're well over 51,000 at this point.
Wow. How about any planned expansions, new schools, growth?
Yes, all of the
above.
We have 3 new additions that have started, so thank you to our county commission and our school board, specifically School Board for their vision, County Commission for funding, Oakland High School, Riverdale High School, and Smyrna High School, 3 state-of-the-art facilities that have all broken ground. We had our groundbreaking in August, and they are slated to open in August of 25.
Wow. How large is the enrollment now of the high schools in the county?
We have 2 high schools that are just barely under 2,000 students.
Wow.
The rest of them are over 2,000 students.
That's phenomenal.
So we have all of our comprehensive high schools are some of the top 20 in enrollment in the state.
Well, you know, my relationship or association with one of your schools is Laverne High School, because I have a group of dual enrollment students from Laverne at Montlow in American government and first-year experience. And I've got to tell you, at least from that sample population of 22 students, you can be very proud.
Absolutely.
We were talking just before on the air because I'd seen it last night on television. I had not really realized that this was being done, but dogs in the classroom. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, we have a couple programs. They're very small, so we have 3 that I'm aware of to where we may have a therapy dog in a classroom. I'm usually working with some of our most at-risk or vulnerable students. As you can imagine, that takes a lot of different permissions from parents, from Department of Health, all kinds of different people. So it's a slow growing program, but it's neat on a personal level. My child had leukemia, and when he was in the hospital, wow, they had a therapy dog that came in several times, and it's just great just a nice little relief.
Well, I was watching the faces of the children on the news story. It caught my attention because I thought, I wonder who was getting the most therapy, the child or the dog. The dog was just loved continually by 25 children. It was just a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
What have been some of the recent developments within the district? New programs? Are you seeing new partnerships, i.e. with Montlow, MTSU? Mm-hmm. Are you still having an extremely difficult time attracting teachers, both regular as well as subs?
Yeah, we're actually doing a little bit better in that. And so our General Assembly really helped with a new state funding plan. And so one of the governor's kind of calls to action was to make sure that starting teacher salary was at $50,000 by the year 2026. Mm-hmm. We did a 5% raise, second straight year in a row of a 5% raise for our teachers, but also implemented a new salary schedule so that our staff, it used to stop at year 21, Now you can get years of experience up to 25, which may not seem like a lot, but it definitely helps just really attract and retain some of our more veteran teachers, and we were able to attract from quite a bit. So regular classroom teachers, we have less than a dozen openings. This time last year, we were probably well into the hundreds. Special education is still an area that we are struggling to find educators.
I remember when you were here in February that the problem of even getting substitutes.
Yes.
Is that still a problem?
It
Getting
is.
the subs in?
It is still a problem. It is in much better shape as well. I
What's
think
required for a person to become a sub?
have to have a high school diploma.
That's all?
Yes. And then there's various training they have to go through and all those
Sure.
different types of things. But
Well, I know I have my oldest granddaughter who just graduated from Georgetown, and she's studying for the LSATs, so she won't be going to law school till fall of 25. I said, well, you ought to sign up and become a sub. And she's great with kids. She's a great personality, so I'll have her give a contact to
absolutely,
Rutherford.
that'd be great.
What's involved for a sub?
A little bit of everything. So they truly can pick to only work at certain schools and certain grades, or they can work in the entire district. It's truly
And they pick their
up
own
to them.
schedule. They're available on call.
On call, they can turn down a job, all those different types of things.
And they just make application with the district office.
We actually have, we use a third-party vendor, but the application information is on our district website.
Excellent. Do you want to give a shout out to some of your teachers of what they're achieving? You've got some men and women throughout the district who are just superstars in all aspects.
Yeah.
Any special recognition?
Not any special recognition. I just want to recognize all of our educators and staff. We are unique in that we are a top 100 school system for enrollment in the entire country. Most people don't think of Rutherford County and think of top 100 enrollment school systems. What's unique is that we're still successful. A lot of your real large districts start to struggle with success, and we haven't experienced that yet, and that has to be a testament to our teachers, to our staff, and really our community that just says we're going to have a good education program regardless of how big we get.
Now, is that calculated on how they do on testing?
It is.
Statewide or
Absolutely.
national testing?
Yeah, statewide.
Well, I do a ACT preparation for Columbia State, and I was reading up on ACT that the ACT scores this last year were the worst in 30 years. Primarily, they blame it on the pandemic.
Absolutely. It would not surprise me, especially when you're looking at math. If you had kids that were impacted by COVID and they were in 8th grade math during all of that, they missed a huge portion of just that. Sure, we did for some of our students online learning, but that face-to-face with a teacher, you can't replace.
Are you still seeing the remnants of pandemic?
A little bit, but we're starting to truly get back to what you hate to say normal. But it's definitely returning. Even probably the one that is still there the most is just the behavior portion, and really at the elementary level. Our middle and high school students are starting. They're always going to make mistakes in behavior because they're adolescents.
Exactly.
But elementary is still an area that we're trying to figure out what the trends and why behaviors are occurring at such a young age.
How has your college placement from your high schools been? About the same level of percentages, high, low?
Yeah, so we've really focused on making sure that college isn't the answer for everyone. We have amazing career and technical education programs. We offer every program that the state recognizes. Kids leave our programs, whether they go to college or into industry, making very, very nice livable wages.
Do you see a good partnership with both MTSU as well as Montlow?
MTSU, Montlow, Bethel, Belmont, we have partnerships with just about everybody.
Excellent, excellent. If you were talking to a young man or young woman today to go into education, would you encourage them, tell them stay away, drive on to another location?
100% encourage them. What I tell our teachers all the time is that what is different, that yes, the job is difficult, but we work with people, and that makes it so that yes, you are making a difference, but it's also not mundane. You're not worried about meeting a quota of how many sales things that you have to get covered in a time. You're working with real individuals. When you work with real individuals, there are going to be challenges because they're people, but that's what makes the job fun.
When you came in this morning, you just come from a parent
Yes.
meeting. How involved today versus in earlier times have you seen parental involvement, parental participation? And how would you encourage that for a parent to consider this not just a duty or obligation, but an investment in their child?
Yeah, I think it's you've seen kind of a national narrative of parents versus school system. And that's not who we are. we are in partnership with our parents. Ultimately, at the end of the day, our students go home to their parents, and in many situations, we're glad they go home to their parents. I'm just joking. We definitely we're in partnership, and we want to make sure that our parents realize that. So, if there's an issue in our school system, let us know and we'll address it. But the things that you see on the national media aren't happening in Rutherford County, and if they do, we'll take care of it. But just realize that we're all on the same team.
Does a parent ask what the curriculum is? Do you
Absolutely,
get
and
those
we want
questions?
people to know. It is clearly linked on our instruction website. We did a Sunday message and multiple messages early in the year to where we did voiceovers. You'll see me clicking through, showing parents exactly how to get to where our standards, how to log into our books. We want it to be as transparent as it can be. We want our parents to know.
Are parents involved in or wanting to be involved in book determination, book decisions?
A little bit. And so kind of what we've looked at with library books is, for us, we want to make sure it's appropriate for students. And when we're looking at library books, if there's something that is truly not appropriate for an age, then we need to have those conversations internally. But we also have a policy and a review committee if needed. But really the sexual nature, all those type of things, until you get to a really older grade and those have parent permission, that doesn't have a lot of place in our school system.
Exactly. How would you overall, and this is a difficult question to ask, and I'm sure there's not a unique answer, just an interpretation. How would you overall describe the behavior of children today versus even 5-10 years ago? Has behavior changed?
I think it's just the engagement level. As you see students, it's just that instant gratification, whether it is phones, computers, screens. We went one-to-one during COVID, so one device for each student. Honestly, I probably regret that. I'm not sure that we had a choice with COVID and having kids at home, but each student having a device with them at all times, I don't know that that's what we want to do long term.
Has TikTok played a role?
A little bit, mainly with just any time. It's just kind of changed that dynamic. You used to have students who would pass notes to each other, and now it's just passing notes just in an electronic format.
Wow. As a teacher, I know I always have to look when I see a student looking down at the floor, and what's under the table is a little texting going on, and that becomes a real challenge. I know in the college classroom is the question of, and I say to the students, put your toys away. Toys can wait till halftime or another particular
And
time.
it's blocked on our servers, and in our new buildings and some of our old buildings, it's really hard to get service. And
Oh, so your Wi-Fi is
it's
limited.
It absolutely is limited.
Now I hadn't heard that particular point.
Yes, we limit quite a bit.
In the high school level, do you see AI as a challenge?
So that is a huge change for us. AI just in general, whether that is how to teach lessons, how to go about preparing lessons, but also with the students, how to make sure that work is their own. But there's definitely a positive to AI, and I think as educators, it's our challenge to figure out that is the wave of the future. How do we harness that for good instead of letting it just be a way for students to do work and make presentations that's not their own learning?
I know I asked you this last February, and I usually ask this at the outset of the show, but this is a good time to ask. Kind of share with us your background. Born where, schooled where, worked where, did what, and here you are.
Yeah. Born and raised in Walter Hill, went to Walter Hill kindergarten through 8th grade, Oakland 9 through 12, went to Tennessee State University in Nashville, undergrad in education, so math and science. Started teaching at Blackman Middle School, 6th grade math and science, boys basketball coach. Got my master's at MTSU in administration, doctorate at Lipscomb, and then was principal in Shelbyville at Harris Middle School from 2011 to 2017. Opened Rocky Fork Middle School in 2017. Went to the central office over curriculum and instruction. Had a great time 6 months before COVID started. Great timing on my part. And then became the director of schools on July 1st of 2022. And it's bittersweet because this is the community I was raised in and educated in.
Absolutely. A good local boy with a local flavor and a local dedication, passion, and commitment.
And I have 2 students in our school system, so I think that gives me a unique perspective.
Do you want to give a shout out on the house sports with the high schools? How are they doing football-wise?
So as the director of schools, I am neutral, and so congratulations to everybody. We have
Where do you sit if you ever go to a crosstown game?
Both sides. You will see me that I rotate through. Each quarter is when I rotate on the track of where
I
I go to.
understand. You're not going to sit at the goalpost itself. And
at a Riverdale game, the first game of the year was Riverdale-Smyrna. I sat right in the middle with the principals in the middle of the goalpost behind it.
Absolutely. How are they all doing?
Doing very well. Just like our academics, our athletic programs are amazing. That's a dedication to our coaches, to our students, and really just to the programs that we have. We support it financially with athletic trainers to make sure our kids are safe. Just doing well. Very
What
well.
kind of parent advisory or parent involvement programs do you have at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school? Is there a pretty strong parental involvement program?
There is, and it's changed. We used to have, the PTOs that were really just kind of focused on fundraising, and we, of course, still have those and they do a great job. But really, our focus now is just kind of parental engagement, making sure that our parents are engaged in what's going on, that we're that partner. So that's something that's evolving over time.
English is a second language, significant within the program?
Absolutely. English as a second language is our largest growing population.
Wow.
So
What percentage would you say of the 50-some thousand?
we actually discussed this at our board meeting on Tuesday night, so I know it specifically. We are just over 7,200 students in English as a second language.
Wow.
And those are students that are actually being served. That does not include students who have already tested out of the program. So our ESL coordinator, Ms. Turnbow, and then Ms. Hall before her have done a great job kind of setting us up for success. Looking at just a decade ago, we had 2,200 English language learners, and now we're over 7,000.
Wow. That
it
gives
is-
something about the demographics of Rutherford County.
It does, and she showed on Tuesday that we have 103 languages spoken in Rutherford County schools, and that 28% of our students, their language at home is not English.
Wow.
And that's not what people think of when they think of Rutherford County, but
Absolutely.
that's
No.
who we're serving.
Well, very few people realize that we have a rather large Egyptian community.
That's what I was going to
Oh,
bring
go
up
ahead.
next.
Talk about it.
So Spanish, Hispanic, Latino, of course, is our largest. English as a second language in the 60%, but right at mid-20s is Arabic. And so that is a large population for us that we're figuring out as a community, how do we serve? Because ultimately, as a public school system, we serve all. It doesn't matter your background, your religious, political beliefs. We're not going to get into that. Our job is to educate you, make sure you're a productive citizen and learning how to read, write, science, social studies, and that's kind of what our job is.
And are you're traditional on your reading, writing, and arithmetic?
Absolutely, yes.
They've got to know that 2 + 2 is not a theory. 2
Yep.
+ 2 is a concept and an application.
And we tried a different approach the state kind of went at to the high school math portion. They did an integrated 1, integrated 2, integrated 3. We tried it, didn't do well, so we were back to the traditional algebra 1, algebra 2 geometry.
Is one of the frustrations today in education of the teacher has so much paperwork to do?
It is. I don't think that would go without saying. There are a lot of roadblocks that get in the way from just the basics of teaching and learning. And unfortunately, that seems to increase every year. So you, of course, want to make sure you have oversight over education, but at some point we have to trust our professionals and let them do their job. And anything that I can do to bring that trust back to our community to make sure that people trust our teachers. But at the same point, we're going to make mistakes. Something that has hurt over the last couple of years is our growth, and that when you have teachers that we are growing so quickly, we don't have the traditional, you've gone to college for 4 years and learned how to be a teacher. We have, and it's great, people coming from industry to teach, but they may not have that background in how to teach. So great content knowledge, and so it's going to take some time to work that out.
Exactly. And you begin to take a look, for example, of security. Security is no doubt a huge, huge issue for schools throughout the country based upon certainly the shootings. Security a major agenda item
Absolutely.
for Rutherford County.
The number one. So we like to say academics is first, but really if our schools aren't secure, it doesn't matter what type of academics we have. We are blessed with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department actually funds all of our school resource officers. And so all of our schools have 1 position assigned. All of our high schools have 2. Our comprehensive high schools, thanks to the governor's grant, will probably have 3 in the next year. And outside of that, every one of our buildings, you have to scan your ID, show your ID. Even if you're the director of schools and everyone knows who you are, if you forget your badge, they are going to take your ID and scan it and give you the little visitor sticker. That
Absolutely, and probably say, carry it next time.
That may or may not have happened to me within the last week, just hypothetically.
When we talk about the changing demographics significantly, and we certainly know it in Rutherford County, and it's certainly measurable within the school community, how about children coming to school non-eating?
Yep.
They're eating, and you're providing at least 1 meal a day that provides some nourishment, nutrition.
Absolutely. So that is a huge portion of the school system. Actually, our budget for that is large. It's not on the local taxpayers because our nutrition, run by Eric Smith, is about $30 million.
Wow.
And it is funded by free and reduced lunch and then funded by students paying for meals. And so that's not a requirement of the taxpayers, but it is something people don't realize, that we have just over $30 million that runs through our school cafeterias.
Boy, a lot of food.
Lots of food.
And it's good. I've tasted it from Laverne High.
Good.
We have the dual enrollment.
Yeah, because it comes over. You're exactly right.
It's not at all bad. No, not that I would make a steady diet of it, but it's not too bad. Not bad. Busing, school busing.
Yes.
Major cost item, getting bus drivers.
Huge. We have a great relationship. So we have bus contractors and have in this county for decades. It is definitely a challenge. We are transporting over 30,000 students a day, and to and from school. So when you consider that, we have over 300 bus routes. It is a large item for our district, and it is a large expense as well. It is not a requirement by the state that you give transportation. There are other districts that don't. And so while I know we have transportation challenges at times, with our county growing so much, and I know it's frustrating for a parent if a bus shows up 1 minute early or 2 minutes late, we can only control so much. We try to automate it the best we can, but it is not a requirement, and we provide that for our students, but it's definitely a concern.
And we'll talk about that after the break, about how busing determines whether there'll be schools open or closed on the weather.
Absolutely.
We're visiting with Dr. Jimmy Sullivan, the Director of Schools for Rutherford County, getting an update, getting, I think, motivation and encouragement that we have second to best, not even second to best, the best school district within the state of Tennessee. We'll be right back.
Finding that missing shin guard, remembering whether it's a home or away game, getting the right kid to the right playing field on the right day. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple so you can worry about more important things, like not being that fan.
Oh, come on, ref!
That's simple human sense.
Rayburn Insurance in Smyrna.
Come see me, Rick Hall, at Rayburn Insurance in downtown Smyrna today.
Hey guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your health assessment at Low T Center, where they now offer the convenience of monitored self-inject at-home testosterone treatments for only $155 a month cash pay or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started on treatment. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
French's Shoes and Boots, your hometown store for boots, shoes, apparel, and more, is family owned, and you'll always find friendly service with the lowest prices on the best brands. We know there's nothing worse than a boot that doesn't fit right, so come see us on South Church Street to get a great fitting on high-quality footwear. We've been outfitting Tennessee since 1903.
It makes good sense to shop at French's. French's Shoes and Boots.
1837 South Church Street in Murfreesboro.
Del Walmsley and the Wealth Cycle.
This is the wealth cycle that I've taught for 30 years. Buy one house, 10 houses, an apartment, 2 apartments, 8, 20, 500 units, 1,000 units, 2,000, 5,000 units. And as you keep putting the money and the profits back in, you become one of those rich people. And much quicker than you'd even believe.
Learn Del's Wealth Cycle at GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. Use promo code 2023. Save 60%. Code 2023. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com. GiveMeTotalFreedom.com.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by the law offices of John Day and AmeriCare Pest Control.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
Let's check those WGNS Good Neighbor events. Why don't you learn some local history? Head over to the one-room Ransom Schoolhouse this Saturday morning, and members of the Rutherford County Historical Society will be there. That's every Saturday morning from 9 until noon. Ransom School is at 717 North Academy Street. And yes, it is free, including the coffee and donuts. Don't miss the 47th Annual Harvest Days this Saturday from 10 until 4 at Cannonsburg Village. And as always, it's free. And this reminder, the Better Business Bureau's Connections Meeting, a networking group to meet other business folks, will be Tuesday evening from 5 to 7 on the last day of the month. That's Tuesday, October 31st. And that'll be over at Champy's Chicken at 1290 Northwest Broad. If you have questions, call James Price at the Better Business Bureau. And when this month ends, it brings to a close the no sales tax on groceries and food preparation items. That ends October 31st. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather.
Mostly sunny skies here this afternoon with a high into the mid-80s. Southeast winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour, gusting as high as 20. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low of 65. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 66. WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. MTE's downtown Murfreesboro office on North Walnut is closed and staff relocated to the new central office on New Salem Highway. Get assistance or make payments there or at the St. Andrews Drive location.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Hello again, Bill Kraus on the Roundtable Thursday morning, having a delightful visit with Dr. Jimmy Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan is the Director of Schools for Rutherford County. And just before the break, we were talking about busing, and it's not a requirement to have a school bus service to students, but Rutherford County does it. Talk about the weather closures and the alerts and so forth. And I remember vividly last February you talked about when is the decision made and how is it made to close the school.
Right. I know for many people that's one of the most uncomfortable decisions to make. As a director, it's definitely one of my most uncomfortable, but we told our parents last year, we'll tell our parents again this year, I'll always err on the side of caution. Ultimately, we realize that it impacts parents, especially for work schedules, so we absolutely take that into account. But at the end of the day, safety is our number one job. We have 30,000 students on a bus, and sure, a car may be able to make something a lot easier than a bus can. But I also have high school students who are driving, and so I have to take that into account.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, weather, of course, is unpredictable, but if we have an event that is pretty much predicted, Middle Tennessee-wide, odds are I'm going to close school for that day. Something we've also really had to start looking at was severe weather a little bit differently. So for me, it's kind of the National Weather Service does a range of 1 to 5 for your severe weather risk. And if we get towards that 3 to 4 round and we look like we have something that's going to hit during dismissal, we need to either modify our schedule or, honestly, I know for parents it's easier if we close than dismissing early. I know that's not a fun thing to do, but buses, once you get above that 40 mile an hour, that wind, we really start to risk the ability of them to topple over, which would be detrimental to students' health.
And needless to say, if you have ice on the roads, especially black ice,
can't mess with
you
that.
Can't see,
yep.
You're not going to take that risk. So what you're saying is, to a great degree, the operation of a bus has a great impact on the decision to stay open or closed.
And we have all of our local municipalities, we start driving the roads at about 3 in the morning. And also talking to our sheriff's department, the local police departments, just to kind of get a picture. Unfortunately for us, most of it comes in at about 5 o'clock, and our buses start rolling by 5 o'clock. And so sometimes we have to make a decision to delay before we even know truly if anything's going to hit or not. But again, I'd much rather be safe.
Well, what's interesting, I know with Montlow State, closure of schools are determined by the administration of Montlow State down in Tullahoma. And they are measuring their decision based upon the weather in Tullahoma. And it may be beautiful sunshine here in Smyrna, and yet we're operating under the Tullahoma interpretation. Talk about the school board. You had a workshop this past Tuesday, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I assume it was a highly productive workshop.
Absolutely.
You want to give a shout out to your board members?
Yeah, my board is amazing. So we have 7 board members, Sheila Bratton, our chair, Claire Maxwell, our vice chair. Tammy Sharp was our chair previously, does an amazing job, still work great. Caleb Tidwell is our vice chair. Coy Young, Francis Rosales, and I'm going through trying to remember, and Katie Darby, making sure I give everybody a shout out. I appreciate our board because ultimately there are not a lot of people who are signed up right now to really have tough conversations around education. There's not a whole lot of fun that goes into some of the conversations we have to have. But ultimately we need to be public servants and make decisions for the best of our county. And our county is at a crossroads.
Yes.
I mentioned us being a large, successful county. Once we get to a certain size, that becomes harder and harder and harder. And so that's a concern. So we're trying to tackle a lot of challenges. We had a great workshop on Tuesday where we talked a little bit from everything from land to growth to our ESL population, and had some really tough conversations, but that's what's needed, is to be able to do the work needed in our community. We have to have tough conversations.
And I would hope and assume, and I would clearly assume, that they all have a futuristic look. You're not saying, what do we need to do tomorrow afternoon?
Absolutely.
You're looking 20-year, maybe even 30-year projections.
Yeah, and I think probably our biggest challenge is our county commission has done amazing in funding, but we're growing so quickly, and then the rise of construction costs. When you're averaging 800 for a low year of students, we need to be opening a school a year.
Wow.
Construction costs have gone from $200 a square foot to over $400 a square foot in just the last couple of years. And so to build a high school, you're looking at $150 million.
Wow.
We have a great AAA bond rating with our county, something we're proud of, but we're ultimately very close to hitting that. The school system needs additional seats. School kids don't bring in enough revenue to build buildings.
No.
The county has met their debt ratio, and so we're really at that sticking point of probably next year. We're probably pretty good for this year, but to that point of what do we do to build buildings, or do we just start purchasing 20, 30 portables a year? And that's not what we want to do. It's not what the county wants to do, but we have to have some of those real tough conversations around how do we pay for it and how do we build buildings.
What's your peak student population per class, both in the elementary as well as the middle? Is there 32, or you're less than 32?
So it is actually state determined. So and that's how we fund positions and fund classrooms, is based on the state maximum. So in kindergarten through third grade, you can have up to 25 kids in a class, with 20 as your average. When you get to fourth through sixth, you get to average of 25 up to 30 kids. And then when you get to high school, your average has to be below 30, but you can have up to 35. And so we don't grant growth positions until a school is right at that limit. And so you hate to say you pack your classrooms as big as you can, but with our size, we have to. And that's also using taxpayer money wells. We're making sure we're putting all the students that we can into a classroom.
It's amazing because as you were giving those numbers, my wife was for 32 years a elementary school teacher in Southern California. And the norm in Southern California, Los Angeles County, Orange County, was 32 students in the elementary school. And you had a real diversion of students. You encouraged TAs, teacher assistants, and so forth, parental volunteers and what have you. But 32 students in the fifth grade that's a lot. I always remember her talking about it. Big crowd.
Yep, we can get up to 30. We can't get to 32 at that grade level.
But what's kind of interesting is that you still are not really much different than the private school ratio.
Correct. Yeah.
So, so you are getting the quality of teacher ratio to student, not any different than if you're going to pay some big bucks for a private school.
And private school definitely has a place, but as a public school, just believe it's how I was educated. That is probably one of my biggest concerns, is that, yes, parent choice is a huge section. We have a huge portion of school choice as well. But that is a concern, that as we continue to grow, that we are going to lose students who traditionally would be Rutherford County students. And so that's a concern that we definitely talk about. And some of that, it has to do with space. And space isn't something that we really determine. We need the space, but we can't fund the space.
Do you have some new openings coming up, or would you like to elaborate also on the expansions that you're doing at the high schools?
Yeah, so we have a 5-year plan that is over $750 million.
Wow.
Yes. And so part of that was our 3 high school additions. We will hopefully send out to bid. We purchased some property in the Blackman, kind of Stewart's Creek area. We hope to send out to bid a new elementary school to relieve overcrowding at Stewart's Creek. That should go out to bid in December, so we'll be going to the county commission looking for funding for that probably in February. We also need an addition at Laverne High School, so that's a concern. We need land on the north end to be able to purchase and build schools. The very next year is a middle school that we need to build on the Beatty property, and then the very next year is a huge high school. And so that's where my concern is, and I know we have some extremely intelligent, smart people in this county, so I'm hoping we can figure it out. We realize that it is a huge cost for a school system, but ultimately we're not asking students to move here. They're moving here, and it's our job to educate them.
Well, without always looking for new taxes or new fees or new revenue, Tennessee hasn't yet adopted, I don't think they've adopted, I might be wrong on this assumption, that when a developer comes in with a major project, that a portion of the development, monies go to parks, money goes to offset streets, sewers, water, and money offset goes to school construction. And I think of what's planned when we had the mayor of Laverne here a few months ago, what they're talking about west of Laverne with 6,000 homes on Burkett. How many elementary schools are you going to need to build out in Laverne?
Probably at least one there, but it's we need, for 6,000 homes, you would want an elementary, middle, and high, and that's what we're looking at land just to be able to do those.
Wow.
But it is there. It's also on the west side of our county. It's on the south side of our county. It's a little bit of everywhere.
Changing the topic, and this I recall you having some reference to it last time, and it's something that we don't think of, and yet it is so important. Arts and culture in school, music and theater and any type of self-development above and beyond the traditional basic school knowledge.
Yeah, our fine arts programs are phenomenal. Dr. Halford, Lindsay Halford leads our fine arts programs. She is one person for our 50 campuses, but we are hitting fine arts season for the fall. So we started probably 2 weeks ago. All of our theater programs for the fall. We are going into our choir concerts. Then you start moving into your Christmas concerts. Recitals, performances, our annual art galleries. So this is something we do very well. We offer every part of the fine arts that you can in Rutherford County that not every district does, whether that is your dance, your visual arts, your fine arts, your performing arts. We offer it all.
You just triggered off a memory that I hadn't thought of, and I hate to tell you how many years. Every school has a Christmas program, parents and siblings and grandparents all that come up. And I remember, and this is going way, 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 way back, as a second grader, we were all set to do a Christmas program, and the class is set up on the stage, and my teacher comes to me and she said, would you just mouth the words rather than sing? And I said, well, why is that? She said, you have a loud voice that's always off key, and you get the entire group off key, so would you just mouth the words, jingle bells, just mouth it. So I've always had that trauma that Christmas programs for the second grade, there's always going to be a student there that's going to be asked to mouth the words rather than sing his heart out.
Well, I have an entire list if you want to come be the guest singer for us. Second grade specifically, if you would like it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Give the website or give the information sources that people who are interested in curriculum, interested in applying for a job, either as full-time or a sub, bus driver, etc. Give some source of information.
Yeah.
And probably we want to do it twice, so if somebody has to, if you have to write it down, run and get a pen, run and get a pencil, have a piece of paper right next to your radio, and take this information down.
Yeah, so the best source of information for us is our school website, and so that is www.rc, Rutherford County, so rcschools.net. So www.rcschools.net.
Oh, I'm sorry. Try that one more time.
Yep, www.rcschools.net. You can apply for jobs, find our salaries, find a school, find curriculum, anything and everything, your bus zones that you want to.
And it's a one-stop center.
One stop. Links to all the schools as well.
We'll be right back. This is Bill Kraus with Dr. Jimmy Sullivan, our wonderful Director of Schools for Rutherford County, as we're getting a fall entry into information about our excellent county schools.
Medicare open enrollment is here. Do you want to sit down with someone and review your coverages for the upcoming year? We'd love to see you. Call Cover My Assets Insurance Group today so we can make an appointment for your policy review. Our services are free, and we can even come to you. We are a local agency that puts our community first. Find us on Facebook or visit our website at covermyassets.com. That's covermyassets.com.
This is Mike Klassen with Middle Point Landfill. Middle Point is partnering with the Prevention Coalition for Success, Murfreesboro Medical Clinic, and the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department, Trust Point Hospital, and the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services to provide secure disposal of prescription medication and vape products for National Prescription Take-Back Day. Drug disposal events will take place October 27th at the Murfreesboro Medical Clinic and Saturday, October 28th at the Smyrna Police Department and the Reeves Sane Drug Store in Murfreesboro. Middle Point will provide safe disposal at all 3 events.
This is Mike Cutter, owner of the award-winning family-owned home care agency Honey Hill Home Care, the non-medical home care agency for seniors in Murfreesboro. Don't let worry consume your family. Experience the difference at Honey Hill Home Care. Check us out online, honeyhillhc.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstireprostn.com.
The Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street, across from the tall NHC building.
All of the proceeds that we generate from our store goes directly back into the ministry for those programs that Greenhouse has. So we would just encourage people to come out and take a look.
The Garden Patch offers competitive prices on name brand clothing, furniture, large appliances, household items, toys, and more. Shopping at the Garden Patch helps Greenhouse Ministries inspire, give hope, and change lives. The Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street in downtown Murfreesboro.
Woodbury Road Baptist Church invites you to worship with us this Sunday morning at 10:45. If you can't make it in person, listen to WGNS Sunday morning at 10:15. Find out more at woodburyroadbaptist.org. We look forward to worshiping with you this Sunday.
In retirement, it's all about income. Your money, making money, and you're not spending down your principal. That's the way we do it at Retirement Income Solutions. So if you're spending down your principal or your money's not making money, keeping you ahead of inflation, check us out today at risolutions.net, risolutions.net. And make sure to join us Saturdays at noon and Sunday afternoons at 1 for Retirement Income Solutions Radio with Nathan Cox and Lindsay Cotter.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
This is Bill Kraus for the third and final segment this beautiful Thursday morning, having a delightful morning visit with Dr. Jimmy Sullivan, our Director of Schools for Rutherford County. I can recall some years ago, but I doubt that it's school policy right now. But for many years, schools were not open on the 1st of November, primarily because children were trick-or-treating the night before, all had sugar high from all the candy they were eating, and they were wild children in the classroom on the day. I'm assuming we're having class on
We are having class on November 1st, but it is ironic you brought that up because my youngest son last week actually said, "Dad, I don't ask for anything, do I?" I was like, no, you don't ask snow days, anything. He said, "What about next year? Could we have a teacher work day on November 1st? Very great timing for you to bring that up."
I think he's going to be a brilliant administrator
I don't know.
when he grows up.
Yeah, he was thinking about it.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah.
If you had words to describe, I won't use the term goals and objectives, I would call them dreams. If you had a magic wand, Jimmy, you had a magic wand, and if you could make life, the world, schools, education, community perfect, if we could make a perfect world, what would some of those words be?
I think the infusion of politics into education has definitely hurt education. Rightfully so. There are some places that are not doing education right. But it's just like when you hear about a doctor or somebody does something wrong in a different state, that hurts our profession.
Yes.
And so that is probably the first thing. The other part is the growth. The growth is a huge concern. Right now we don't have enough seats for our students. With the cost of buildings, there's not going to be enough revenue to build the buildings we need for our students, which I believe that parents ultimately, probably rightfully so, are going to be frustrated, and then they're going to remove their students from our school system. And so that is what keeps me up at night is 5 years from now, how are we not starting to hit that precipice of losing our success to where we are a inner city unsuccessful school system and that's the biggest challenge we have right now. And unfortunately, I don't think that's one the school system's going to be able to solve by themselves.
You know, and there's the conflict in terms of planning and zoning. A city or a county has to take a look at their vacant land or their land that's coming under recycle, and they have to particularly ask, what's the density that we expect? And on the one hand, density, the more people per acre, it's an economic factor. You can run sewer and water and streets to that property far less per unit than you can if you have an acre, 2 acres of land around each house. But the other item is the more density, the more people, the more traffic, and the more children.
Absolutely.
And with the more children, is the school districts advised by the various cities in Rutherford County or the county when a major development is being considered by planning for zoning purposes and approval purposes? Do they consult, or does the developer have to get some type of review by a school district? And again, I use that point of 6,000 homes out off Burkett by Laverne. That's a huge significant impact on schools as well as on all other levels.
We are definitely included on this as a potential. But in Tennessee, as long as it's zoned a certain specific way, the developer, the owner has the right to do that. And
exactly.
So it's great to have that right and liberty, but as a then byproduct of what all that brings, it is definitely a challenge.
How would you describe parental involvement today versus when you first went in education as a teacher? Is it more? Is it less? Is it angrier? Is it calmer? Is it the expectations of parents? Do they expect the teacher, the classroom, to not only teach subject, but to teach life to the child?
I think it's similar. Some of the biggest changes I think we see is just the extreme on both sides. You have some people who are going to just be overly pleasant, even if we really need to address a problem. And then you're going to have some other individuals who, whatever they see or hear about, they think is going on here. And so that it really doesn't matter what we're going to say, we're not going to be able to convince that person. And that makes it hard to educate their kid to the best of their ability if we're not on the same page.
I would assume that your teachers are very much aware and become aware, especially as they get to know a class throughout a school year, of problems at home and problems with the child, or even the tragedy of suicide, the tragedy of overdose, the tragedy of other things directly affecting both child as well as family. Do you have a red light, a red button, a red system, alert system that a teacher will be able to notify and promote, if you may, opportunities for the parent and child to get therapy or correction?
Yeah, not specifically. Really, the thing we do is we make sure that we let our parents and students know that our job is to educate our students, but we can also help if there's something that we need to direct a family to a resource. We've got a couple different tools that we can use for that.
How about discipline? You were talking off the air about the process of expelling, and I'm sure that's the very, very last leg that you have if all else fails.
It is. So as a director of schools, that's something you want to do, again, at the very end. But ultimately something that we have to take a stand on are threats against our schools. And so if a student is proven to make a threat against our school, the large majority of times I'm going to expel that student, because they are not only taking kids' safety into their hands, but they're also really removing that right of an education to other students. And so I struggled with that probably my first month in the position of truly, you don't want to take that right away from a student, and you absolutely don't. It's for an expulsion, it's for a calendar year. But our parents give our kids to us for 6.5, 7, their kids to us 6.5, 7 hours a day. We have to make sure they're safe, and if a student makes a threat, it's our job to make sure we handle that threat.
How do you motivate your excellent teachers? You know, a teacher who's in the classroom from 8:30 till 2:30, and most people, or I shouldn't say most people, some people think, well, the teacher's done at 2:30, they go home and sit and have a glass of lemonade. The amount of hours that a good teacher puts in above and beyond classroom time.
Absolutely. Something I always try to make sure that I communicate overly to our teachers is that you have to be a human first. Otherwise, as I mentioned with our growth, we'll be okay this year. We'll be okay next year. I'm most concerned about 5-6 years from now. If our teachers burn out, there's not going to be enough of us left to educate our growing population. The other part I always hit, so thank you for the segue, is that you always hear that, well, teachers get off all summer. Teachers aren't paid in the summer. That's not a contracted hour, so they're not paid during that time. So to say that they're off because they're not an employee and they're not paid. So thank you for that segue, because there's always something that irks me as an educator. Well, your teachers, you get off during the summer. Yeah, they do, and technically it's almost like they're unemployed during that time because they're not contracted to work.
I can only speak for one case, my wife, 32 years of teaching. I can always think that we would take trips in the summer, not just vacation. We would be taking trips for historical location sites. I'm afraid with budget limitations, you don't have field trips as we did in earlier times.
We actually still have quite a few field trips. The biggest issue for us as field trips is our size. And so if you have a first grade class, most of our elementary schools are over 1,000 students or right close to it. You've got 175 to 200 elementary school kids in first grade. It's going to take a special facility to be able to take 175 or 200 kids into a field trip. So we may have to take one field trip over an entire week just for one grade.
And the teacher's patience with having to manage a
Absolutely.
group that size at the zoo or that size of the museum and so forth. We're very optimistic. 5 years, yes, will come and go before we can even snap our fingers to it. But I would assume that at least people are thinking about 5 years. When you had your board study session on Tuesday, future was probably the number one topic.
It always is, yes.
Do you encourage parental volunteerism, parental suggestions, not necessarily on a controversy on a book or what have you, but, and I always, when I was a city manager for so many years, I would always say to a person or group, if you had a magic wand, what would you do to make this excellent?
Yeah.
And how would you tell a parent, if you had a magic wand, how would you make this excellent?
Yeah, we actually have a survey going out to parents and teachers on Monday just about communication preferences, things that we can do for the school system. So that is a huge aspect that we have to have.
Best way to communicate with you, telephone, email, letter, or knock on your door and say, Dr. Sullivan, you got a moment?
Email is the best. I am not very much in the central office position. I don't feel like that I can do my job well sitting behind a desk. I need to be in schools. It is a requirement. I need to be there quite a bit, but I am a lot of times in schools or meeting with various stakeholders in the community. That's to build support for our school system. So email's the best.
This is a silly question, but again, going back to being from a family of not only my wife is a teacher, my brother was a teacher for years, etc. So education's been very key. Are you going to dress up Tuesday?
Probably not.
Are you principals or teachers?
They definitely do some types of things. I am not. I feel like dealing with education and having a child that survived leukemia, my life was scary enough. I'm not a huge Halloween fan now. My wife and kids love it, but it is not one of my just favorite things in the world.
Well, if I could suggest this, you may have in your closet your cap and gown from graduation.
That's true, yeah.
And if you wear your cap and gown and robes
that's a very good idea.
From your doctorate,
yeah.
That would be very impressive.
Very good idea. Very good idea.
So we know Dr. Sullivan is here. What would you like to leave our visit with? Words for our public, not just parents, not just grandparents, but the entire population, the over 350,000 people of Rutherford County, that their schools are in great hands. The teachers, the staff, the counselors, the administration, the custodians. And very few people will say thank you to a custodian, and that will make the difference of day and night.
Yeah. Just ultimately that our job is to serve, that we are a large, successful school system. We look to continue to be successful, but there are going to be issues being so large, and just when we have an issue, make us aware so that we can fix it and address it so it doesn't happen again.
Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen out there. We always everybody encourages when you see a law enforcement first responder, you say thank you for your service. Next time you see a teacher, thank them for their service.
Absolutely.
This is Bill Kraus. We've had a wonderful, delightful visit with Dr. Jimmy Sullivan, the director of schools, now almost in a year and a half of service.
Almost.
That's phenomenal. Great. And many, many more years to come based upon the fortune of Rutherford County.
Thank you.
Good luck. Keep up the great work. And we will see you all, or talk to you all next Thursday. Bye.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies like the good old famous days.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Portions of our programming have been pre-recorded. The Good Neighbor Network, WGNS, Murfreesboro, Smyrna, flagship station for MTSU Sports. Courthouse clock time, 10 o'clock.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Hey, it's Scott. When it comes to health, there are numbers that every man needs to know, including our very own testosterone numbers. I recommend going to Low T Center, where they make it quick and easy to get your levels checked, and it's only $25. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you'll know your results in about 25 minutes. Low testosterone levels can make you feel tired, grumpy, cause lack of motivation, and drive. It can also raise your cholesterol, cause weight gain, and loss of muscle mass. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Middle Tennessee football fans, are you ready to score big? We have an unbeatable ticket offer that will blow your mind. Experience the thrill of the game with sideline reserved seats for only $24 or end zone reserved seats for just $18. Join us inside Floyd Stadium for an unforgettable home MTSU football game. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to witness our favorite local team in action. Get your tickets now and be a part of the excitement. Head to goblueraiders.com/tickets to purchase yours and secure your spot at the game. Go Blue Raiders!
Now an update from the WGNSradio.com News Center.
I'm Ron Jordan. Scam alert, there are unscrupulous parties out there targeting homeowners with offers of financial assistance that come with an unwelcome surprise. Some homeowners who think they're getting a loan or new mortgage to avoid foreclosure or to pay off their immediate debts are finding out sometimes years later that the party supposedly offering them help has taken title to their home, and for an amount much less than the home's actual value. And the way the homeowners typically find out is when they miss a payment on their supposed loan and receive a notice evicting them from their own home. Use due diligence on your lender before you sign any paperwork. Persistent dry conditions across the state have prompted multiple cities and counties to issue burn bans in order to prevent the risk of fire in the area. Monday saw the city of Dixon issue a burn ban, citing continued dry conditions and low humidity, followed shortly by the city of Brentwood. Also, Lawrenceburg, Murfreesboro, and Rutherford County have all issued burn bans. The ban prohibits all open burning, including recreational fires. New research shows the average American curses 80 to 90 times a day, or about 5 words every waking hour. And as time goes by, swearing's becoming more acceptable, both online and off. From everyday life to music, film, and TV, rude words are hard to miss. Tennessee comes in 4th place for foul language, and the research shows that an average of 6.2 curse words happen in online postings. Interestingly, every state's favorite curse word is a reference to excrement, apart from Colorado, which favors a sexual reference, and Californians that love to use HE double hockey sticks. When news breaks, we tweet it. Follow us on X at WGNS Radio. I'm Ron Jordan reporting.
The Good Neighbor Network, on air and online at WGNSradio.com. Rutherford County's most trusted source for local news.
Hi, I'm Wade Hayes, owner of Toots Good Food and Fun. I strongly believe that volunteers make a positive difference in the quality of life here in our community.
Christiana Elementary School's PTO president, Felicia Frazier, is the Toots' outstanding volunteer. She makes certain that school events are special for the students and goes out of her way to recognize all of the staff and bus drivers and show how they are an important part of the youth's total education. She decorates, provides food, and is an awesome volunteer.
At Toots, we strongly believe that it's important for every one of our citizens to give some of their time and talent back into the community. And we want to honor these individuals with a Toots gift certificate good at any of our Rutherford County locations. 860 Northwest Broad Street, on Church Street in the Barfield area, in Smyrna on Sam Ridley, and Toots West on Franklin Road at Rucker Lane.
I'm Ken Coleman. Join me here on News Radio WGNS, weekdays live at noon, as we answer your questions about your calling, passion, and talent to maximize your potential.
A lot of people like to travel, and most of them are doing it wrong. I'm Brian Banmiller on business. Travel writer Rick Steves has been traveling the world for decades, and along the way has shared what he's learned about making the journey a little easier. And to help you out even further, Explore.com has put together a list of some of his favorite travel tips. For example, remember that time is money. Sometimes you can cover more ground in bigger cities by hopping into a rideshare or a taxi. There are lots of times when a $15 10-minute cab ride will save you more time than a 45-minute train ride will save you money. Next, plan to avoid needless lines. Want to see the Louvre, Vatican Museum, or Colosseum? You're not alone. These are attractions that bring a lot of attention.